Hello, and once again, welcome to Jagan Armory. Today we're going to take a look at the basic disassembly and field stripping of the CZ97B. And this model is, of course, in 45 ACP. You'll hear me talk a lot about in some of my videos, this is one of my favorite firearms, quote unquote. And this one definitely is. And another comment you'll hear me make is how some firearms are pretty close to being a 1911 without being a 1911. I'm sure there are many that would argue with me on this particular point, but as far as heft is concerned, that's what this reminds me of. Needless to say, it is very different from a 1911, and for those of you CZ fans out there that maybe have a 75, if you've had a chance to shoot one of these, you know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't, please make that opportunity available to yourself. I think you'll find it's a great firearm and a lot of fun to shoot. All right, having said that, as we do when we handle any firearm, we want to make sure that we are considered clear and safe. So let's go ahead and drop the magazine, rack the slide open, a visual inspection, physical inspection, and we are good to go. Now this particular firearm does field strip a little bit differently than most others. And we'll get to the idiosyncrasies thereof here in a moment. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get started. You'll notice here on this particular firearm, you'll see these two, what I call takedown indicators. I hope you can see them in the video. I'm going to try to get a close-up. Can you see that? Right there and right there. Those two you want to line up in order for you to be able to remove the slide catch and then, of course, remove the slide. So let's go ahead and cock the hammer. That'll give us a little bit more leeway. We're going to go ahead and move the slide backwards so we get that alignment on those two notches. Now, I can tell you from experience, there's the pin on the takedown, on the slide catch, right? Pressing that with your finger, this time it happened to go right through, no problem. I've had in situations where it just wants to stick, so what I find is using maybe the corner of the table, a wood table, to just press on the pivot pin itself will be enough to dislodge it. In this particular case, it came free, no problem, so we're going to go ahead and remove that. We're going to put the slide in the battery. In this particular firearm, you need to drop the hammer in order for you to be able to remove the slide. So just pull the trigger. There we are. Now the entire slide assembly will come off the firearm. Now we have our frame, which will be kept separate. And don't get alarmed by the way that recoil spring looks. That's common for the CZ97Bs. Don't let that freak you out. So we'll take the guide rod, which is very small, and the recoil spring off the firearm. This utilizes a recoil spring bushing, which finds itself into the slide as well. And then in order to remove the barrel, you'll notice it just won't come out on its own. It's a little stuck. This does utilize a barrel bushing that unscrews. You'll just unscrew that until it comes out of the slide itself. Takes a few turns. We're about there. There you are. Now you've got the clearance necessary to lift the barrel out, and you are now completely field stripped. Slide catch, barrel bushing, recoil spring bushing, recoil spring, guide rod, barrel, and of course the frame. And as one can probably imagine, this goes back together the same way it came apart. So with that, we're going to go ahead and put the barrel in first, and then we'll go ahead and screw in the barrel bushing. Now you're going to notice there's a little cutout. Get my little handy-dandy pointer. See that little cutout? Now that cutout, of course, is going to go to what would be the bottom of the barrel, and we'll show you what that means in a moment. Start screwing this in. I'm going to do this view. I think this will be a little bit easier. Nothing special about the threads. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. All right, now you'll notice, you see that little notch making its way around. It's going to come around and it's going to go just past 6 o'clock this next time that I bring it by. There we go. All right, so obviously that's not going to work. That little notch is there to lock the barrel and the bushing in place so that you can see we've got the cutout now perfectly in line with the cutout of where the recoil spring bushing sits. Okay? Speaking of which, insert the recoil spring bushing. Then we're going to put the recoil spring and guide rod back together. Now this can get a little tricky. You're going to want to push and, of course, seat this in that notch on the barrel lug. And again, don't freak out that that's sideways and crazy like that. It's designed that way. Strange and unusual, yes, but that's how it works. Next, we're going to go ahead and put the slide on the frame. And you'll notice, by the way, this is a very long dust cover. It's not cut short like we see in many others. And that is a full-length slide rail. Right. So it's an internal rail, as you can hopefully you can see. There we go, on the frame as well. So another little bit of lanyard there. So just go ahead and slide that all the way on. We're going to go ahead and cock the hammer. That makes pulling the slide back a little easier. And once we have some nice alignment and we have a nice clear hole there for the pin of the slide catch, we're going to go ahead and just put that straight through, line up the takedown notches, push, we're good, rack it backward, undo it, and there we are. Once again, rack it open for good measure. Great trigger on this particular firearm as well. I can't say enough about it. You have an opportunity to fire one, please, please, please do. This is a little bit older model, but man, is it comfortable. I've thought about putting some different grips on, but something about these old school checkered, just, well, at any rate, I could go on. So to make a long story eternal, that is the way that you do a basic disassembly and field strip of the CZ97B. As always, thank you very, very much for tuning in. And as I always like to tell my, my faithful followers, be well and good shoot.